I went to Brother Martin to give Rumble Raiders their
I'm actually in my Rumble Raider uniform
I
today
noticed
with the
blue
shirt out,
and the gray. Uh-huh. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We have one of our own on the show this week. On the Table segment presented by Blue Runner Foods. He sits in the production crew each week. We're very fortunate to have him here. But today, he sits in the guest chair. How you doing?
I'm doing well, sir. It's on.
Y'all know him. He's the host of that very popular Love to Eat Street interviews. And you all have been watching right here on the Love NOLA TV's YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. He's also the co-host on Apple Podcasts' #1 food podcast in the world.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Chef Shawn Pooch Rivera.
Mark, what a privilege to be in this chair, man.
#1.
Yeah, I tell you what, I have to pinch myself every morning I wake up because, they say the old lineage, or adage, should I say, that right place, the right time,
Yeah.
hard work puts you in there. And I'm always at the right place at the right time.
That's fantastic. And it's a Rummel grad making good.
About time some Rumble grads had to make good. About time.
I went to Brother Martin to give Rumble Raiders their
I'm actually in my Rumble Raider uniform
I
today
noticed
with
the
the
blue
shirt out,
and the gray. Got a little red tag
a little bit,
there.
yeah, a little pride.
I love the street Q&As with local chefs that you've been doing, and I know you are the co-host of the Walk-In Talk Show. Great guy, Carl Fiadina. You've been working with him on that. But those people don't really know about Carl. Tell us about Carl, if you would.
Carl is a guy who's got, so much knowledge in the restaurant industry from a sales perspective and from a brokerage and procurement perspective, and that's what kind of makes the podcast a great mesh.
Yeah.
Is that we have chefs, we have restaurateurs, and we have people from the brokerage and food supply
kind
chain.
of behind the house, front of the house, and as you know, it's an ecosystem, so it takes a lot of people in that village.
That it does.
That it's unbelievable. But your journey, how did you get to where you are?
Man, it's a long story, I guess, man.
We got time.
Okay, we do got a little bit of time. So I grew up in Mid-City, was born in Mid-City, and
What street?
Cleveland Avenue. Cleveland Avenue.
You know, my
Really?
father's family lived on Cleveland,
Really?
and in South Clark.
Wow, you're giving me chills.
That
Did you go to St. Anthony?
Sacred Heart is where he went
gotcha.
to grammar school. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I went to St. Anthony, but I grew up right there, right behind the Pavellini family.
Great neighborhood.
Great neighborhood. So I used to hop the fence coming home from school and go roll Manuel's hot tamales, and that's where my first love affair came with the food industry.
Right.
We thought we were cooking tamales, but we were actually taking them out of a crock pot and rolling them in newspaper. But that romance of seeing the cash through the window for something I accomplished really, really kind of sparked me. And my family has a lot of lineage, 100 years in that neighborhood. My great-great-grandfather came from Vacherie, Louisiana, to open up Stibe's Pharmacy right there on the corner of Cleveland and Carrollton. So that neighborhood has been where, my great-great-aunts would give everybody their flu shots. My great-great-uncle was upstairs doing the dentistry. So they all moved here from Vacherie to kind of be a part of that neighborhood. And really ironic, they were very much the Jesuit family. But I moved to Old Metairie with my father after my mother passed and ended up being a Rumble boy.
Well, that's all right.
It's all right.
That was such a great neighborhood.
It is such a great neighborhood. And it's just, you can't get more New Orleans than Mid-City, right?
So give us some background on the Walk and Talk show.
So the Walk and Talk show, I have to give all the kudos to Carl Fiadini. Like I said before, with luck and chance, we met through a colleague in the industry, and Carl started this during COVID, and it was really a Zoom call of sorts. For instance, every city had their own regulations, every state had their own regulations, and he brought together people from procurement. He brought together chefs. He brought together other restaurateurs on how are you guys doing things in San Francisco? How are you guys doing things in Tampa? How are you guys doing things in Florida? And everybody was learning and feeding off of each other. And it just so happened that a chef that was here for the ACF, the American Culinary Federation convention, he was part of the podcast at the time, and he mentioned in front of all these ACF chefs and culinary influencers, should I say, that the podcast was going on, and it blew up from there. I believe they were at number 13 at the time. From there, it blew up to number 1. It's been number 1 for the last 2 years.
And it's just not being heard and seen in the United States.
No, I tell you, I got to pinch myself. It's all over the world.
Worldwide.
It is worldwide. and it's really B2B. It's chef to chef, and we invite all listeners, especially foodies, but it's really chefs learning from other chefs on new techniques, culture, pride, all the things that it takes to be a chef in this industry these days.
And you keep the enthusiasm up, which is fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
I think that's natural for you.
Yeah, I think it is natural. Yeah.
New Orleans is talked about as one of the greatest food cities in the world. We're constantly getting rankings, but from a chef's perspective, from your perspective, what makes our food culture so special?
That it truly is a culture. It starts around the family. It starts around the kitchen table, and it's you're born into something that is truly ever evolving. It's an ever evolving energy, and you see chefs come here from all over the world and they blossom because they realize it's not just about technique. It's not just about flavor. It truly is about soul, and I think that New Orleans brings soul to the table more than any other city in the world. And maybe I'm a little biased, but I don't think so.
Early in the kitchen, when you were now you've moved to Metairie, did you and your dad work in the kitchen together or cook at home? What kind of experiences did you have there?
Ironically, my father always told me that my father came here as an immigrant and had to get his medical degree all over again.
Right.
So he always said, "Why do you want to be a chef? You're cooking for someone. You're a servant." So I would say that kind of the defiance of that is really what pushed me a lot. I got to give a lot of credit, though, to the Barreca family. I started cooking on Metairie Road at 14.
Wow.
Nash Barreca really just took me under his wing and really saw that I had a passion for it. I really cared more about the culinary industry and the restaurant industry, per se, more than I did about my studies. I'm sure a lot of my teachers and professors would tell you that. But I'm sure they all love it now that they see what I've become. But it was at home. I did have a lot of, I was very blessed to have a Afro-Caribbean part of my culture and then a true Creole indigenous culture family here, and then a German upbringing as well. A lot of German in my family. As much as I am a Afro-Caribbean, Creole, Hispanic, New Orleanian, there's probably a lot more German running through my blood than there is anything else.
But when you speak about Nash Barreca, the importance of mentors in our lives, and we've heard stories on this show about folks who coming up through the kitchen, but it was always somebody in that kitchen that took them under their wing, and I sense that that's what you found at Barreca's.
He really did, and he molded me in a way to that now I realize now that really putting other people on, showcasing other people's talents is truly where I kind of fit in the groove, So I although I am, on international television, on international podcasts, and now the Love to Eat podcast in New Orleans, I have to really attest to what makes me happy is showcasing other people's talent. That really fulfills me.
Well, let's talk about the Love to Eat New Orleans podcast. I'm sure your experience with Chef Carl, I'll call him Chef. I feel like he's not
a chef, but he may as well be a chef.
Yeah,
to get the term chef, you need to be recognized.
He hangs
by
out
your
with
peers.
you enough. I think
exactly.
we could give him that. But what Carl and the whole walk-in talk is part of what gave birth to that. And now, Love NOLA TV is the host of the show. Talk about how that came about.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, it's really the Haggerty brothers. They kind of put this thing together, Love NOLA TV. And I have to give credit to all the hosts of Love to Eat before me. I'm just kind of here at the right place at the right time, like I said before, and blessed to be here. But we're starting something different. I think the podcast inspired some of the facts that we're starting a podcast for it, meaning that I'm on the #1 food podcast. But I think more so was really that New Orleans needed a food podcast of someone that really talked about the history and lineage of the food culture.
Right. And I like the fact that you're celebrating local chefs and restaurants and kind of giving them the opportunity to tell it from their perspective, that local food story.
Yeah, I think a lot of times our stories told through whether it be National Geographic, CBS Morning News, all these beautiful, beautiful things that showcase the city so well. But at the end of the day, we never really tell the story from, New Orleanian to New Orleanian. Even if you're not a New Orleans chef or restaurateur, you're telling it from ground zero. We're here, we're in the kitchens, we're on the ground, and we're hearing it from different perspectives. And what I really can't wait to do is really showcase those home cooks, showcase the people who enjoy food and why they enjoy it. And I think people will get more in tune to our culture that way.
Yeah, define home cooks.
Man, I'll tell you what. I mean, I can say it in one phrase. The best gumbo is at somebody's mama's house.
Right.
You know, so it's just that, and you're gonna feel their soul, you're gonna feel their energy, and that's when I say home cooks. There's nobody here that can say that their best meal wasn't at somebody's house.
Yeah.
Because there's love involved in that, and there's, you know, I believe that peace can come through food, man. And the world today is obviously a crazy place, but if we all sat down and had a meal, I think everything would be okay.
I totally agree. 2026 ahead. What can the listener expect on your show?
I think a lot of podcasts showcase the chef, they showcase the glitz and the glamour, but they don't showcase, especially New Orleans culture in our culinary scene. It's an ecosystem, and it takes so many different people. So I want to showcase the bartenders. I want to showcase, I mean, honestly, down to the dishwashers, down to, you know, for instance, Uptown Tea, who's been there for 30 plus years, shucking oysters, you know, and people that never get the glitz and the glam that they deserve, and
Right.
really what makes the engine turn.
I mean, they're on the front line.
They're on the front line, and you know, I can't wait to interview waitresses, waiters, bartenders. You know, everybody who makes this work down, even down to Care Restaurant and Supply. You know, they are the engine that refueled this city after Katrina in the restaurant industry, and everybody deserves their shot and deserves to tell their story. And I'm just privileged to be able to want to let them do it.
Well, we look forward to seeing those guests. And again, when you're able to tell the story that it's just not the chef out front, it's a whole team of people that make that place special, or
Agreed.
makes that food taste so good. Okay, let's do some street Q&As. I'm gonna ask you the question.
Get a little bit of water here.
What's your perfect day of eating in New Orleans? What does that look like? Now, you and I talked about this prior. It's hard to name our favorite restaurants or a specific place, because it's like talking about your favorite children. But I know there's some places out there that really make your heart sing.
I think I would start in the Riverbend for breakfast, either Camellia Grill or maybe PJ's on Maple
Okay.
Street. Brunchy, lunchy type scenario. I'd have to go to see Marv Mathern over at Guy's Po' Boys. Not only are you going to have probably the best shrimp po' boy you ever had in your life, but you're going to feel a man whose passion and love for this city, it just changes your day. I mean, truly, I love that man so much. Shout out to Marv. From there, I'd probably grab a cocktail at Cure or a mocktail, depending on what time of the day it was. I think that I would jump on a streetcar, go downtown. There's nothing like the electricity of lunch at Galatoire's. Although the food, the cocktails, the service is exquisite, the acoustics, that sound of everything clinging together and the conversation, that is, it's giving me chills right now talking about it. It's one of the some of the most memorable moments I've ever had, which, you know, Mother's Day lunch or just lunch at Galatoire's, and just the sound of restaurant happening.
Yeah.
You know, that, it's just something
And
about
you know,
it.
Galatoire's is one of those places where you could get there at 11:30 or noon, but you might not leave until 6 p.m.
That is true. You know, and the end of the day starts on Fridays at 12 o'clock, and it usually starts at Galatoire's, at least in the business world around here. And from there, I mean, there's numerous places to go. Central Grocery is always another place that the smells, the sound that embodies New Orleans and old New Orleans for me. And to top it off for dinner, to be honest with you, I think I'd go to the West Bank and hit one of these ethnic spots. I feel that Palestinian cuisine, Vietnamese cuisine, Chinese cuisine, Indian cuisine, Banana Blossom,
Thai.
Sahara, the Crescent City grocery market out there, Crescent City Market. Those are truly what are forging the new Creole, in my opinion. It's, you know, everybody can debate what they want, but they've been here long enough to really embody what the city is doing now, and really we're learning that those flavors and their passion for the culture
Right.
is really coming through on their food.
Such homegrown. I mean, I think that's the essence of what has made New Orleans so special, is that it bubbled up from the neighborhoods, right? Amazing. Love to Eat the Love to Eat podcast will run weekly on the same platforms as our show, the Mark Romig Show. That's Love NOLA TV's YouTube page, Apple Podcast. We've got Spotify and Amazon.
We got a TikTok now too.
Yes, clips will
doing
be
well.
on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. I'm looking forward to the podcast and continue to have you work with us here on the crew.
Thank you, sir.
If you got some time, we got some more questions.
Of course, please. All
For
day.
people meeting you for the first time, who is Chef Shawn Pooch Rivera, and how did you fall in love with food in New Orleans?
Man. The reason I fell in love with food.
And I got to ask how the Pooch name came to.
Gotcha, of course. My mama is why I love food. My mother was the oldest of 6 kids, and I was the oldest grandchild. So I was getting beat up and pushed around by my uncles who were 12 to 15 to 17 years old, and just being, their little guinea pig. But I would follow them around like a dog, so they called me their Pooch. The little It was Poochie back then. And then kids in the neighborhood started calling me Poochie because I pride myself on being very loyal. So I was loyal like a dog, and so they gave me that name.
And it's stuck, and it's now
stuck to this
now
day.
it's worldwide.
I guess it is now. I don't just either
There are
you're a
probably
bill
babies
collector.
being born being named Pooch.
There has to be. Shout out to Shout out to Chef Josh Adoma, who thought my name was truly Pooch. He asked me, how did my parents come up with that name? I love you, brother.
That's funny.
It is so funny to me. But Pooch Rivera is just I'm just a kid with a dream. I follow my passions. I think that I have to attest a lot of that to the fact that I lost parents at a young age, which I think they guide me now, obviously, and that's a lot of part of my success. Everybody up there is guiding me. But I think that it allowed me to take chances that would have been ill-advised, or they would or advised not to do, as by parents or guardians. So I think that I was able to kind of just, how they say down here, jump off the porch. I jumped off the porch head first, and I really just did a lot of different things. Moved to Europe, backpacked, cooked, just did things that no one understood why in my family, but I somehow my soul knew it was real.
You're just saying something that I think is so important. You got out of town for a while. You experienced the rest of the world, and then probably made you really appreciate what we have here. And when you came back, you felt that much more attuned.
I did. Not only did I learn who I was, obviously, out there, and having to make tough decisions, do I sleep in a hostel or do I sleep at a train station at night? These kind of things. But those kind of things, just being a young person or young man in this world. But it also made me realize how valuable New Orleans culture is to the world. I would walk in places and they'd be like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "New Orleans." The people's faces would light up no matter what country I was in. They just knew that this was a place that they could also call home because they had heritage here. Yeah. And it was a beautiful thing.
Wow. When we think of New Orleans food, people think of gumbo and beignets, but what are some other dishes or traditions you think need more attention or credit?
I think yakame. I love the story of yakame. Louis Armstrong would go to the Chinese laundromats and get his clothes washed, but at the same time, they cooked there. Huh. So they tried to create things that could bring in different cultures and have their culture not just be so ostracized. And I feel as though, minorities came together, made something that now Black culture is improved and elevated. Right. And that is it's one of my favorite dishes, especially when it's cold outside, which rarely is cold.
Would you describe the dish, please?
So the dish is a ramen-based style of broth, but with New Orleans Creole flavors in there. So it started in Chinatown. It's hard to believe that we had a Chinatown, but we did have a Chinatown right around Tulane, where the courthouse is, and that's where a lot of the laundromats were. So they would cook out of the laundromats as well because people had to stay there through the duration of their clothes washing. Right. So they were fed through that, and Louis Armstrong's favorite dish was yakame. So I encourage everybody to go to the New Orleans archives and check out our history because it is absolutely spectacular. And you could be there all day just learning and learning and learning.
Would you say that is one dish that everyone should try at least once in their life?
Yes, I should. When it comes to the gamut of New Orleans dishes, where can we start and where can we end? That to me is something that, Old Sober. It's called Old Sober, and it's there to revive you either when you're sick, when you're drunk, you're having a hangover, leaving the French Quarter on your way to work. You're grabbing the Old Sober. It's gonna make you feel good. It's gonna fill you up, and it's packed with love. Shout out to the Yakame lady, shout out to the Yakame man. They're still keeping that heritage alive, and I think it's just a dish that embodies the true culture of New Orleans. But then again, so does gumbo.
Yeah,
so does
gumbo kind of
jambalaya.
does the same thing. It brings all these ingredients together. It makes you feel good. It has soul, and I think it sounds like I need to try some yakame.
I think you really, really should. The Yakame man is a good man. He's out there leading the charge now. The Yakame lady, unfortunately, is kind of has to stay in our house these days. But the Yakime man is out there, and you guys should try his Yakime. It's spectacular.
Where can I find that?
He is usually somewhere around the city. You know, he parks up and does it. Same way Miss Linda did, the Yakime lady. But he's when I catch him is in the 9th Ward in front of Night Bloom.
All right.
That's to me one of the best places to catch him.
Give me a heads up next time.
Will do, sir, of course.
You talked about mentors earlier. What advice do you give to that young man or woman coming through, say, a Cafe Reconcile or a training at Noki who wants to get into the business? How do you mentor that person? What do you tell them?
Pick up your phone and go around the world. You can take a world tour from your phone these days. And rather than get involved in drama and all these other different things, learn the world and its cuisine. Because we are fortunate enough to be in a world now where we can get access to anything via our phones, good and bad. So go for the good and learn. Bring in a lot of information, and then that's what's going to help you utilize the skills that you learned at Noki, that you learned at Noma, that you learned at Cafe Reconcile, and numerous other places that teach and mentor kids. But at the same time, I recommend that everyone builds their brand. You know, I can't say that I would be in this seat with you right now if I didn't put an emphasis on building my brand. And I think that's what everyone should do because they're able to do it now. And a lot of people waste their time getting involved in all kinds of other stuff on social media. But if they built their brand, you're not going to have success overnight. But longevity, durability says a lot to a lot of people, and I wouldn't be sitting in this seat if it wasn't for that.
Well, Pooch, you said something very important, too, about you're painting your portrait every day. And a lot of people are doing it on social media. So you got to remember that every stroke you make is going to last forever. So do that with style, grace, commitment, passion, as you are continuing to do with your podcast and just getting out there. I mean, you're such a great ambassador
Thank you, sir. I don't gotta say the same about you.
For making New Orleans such a special place. Tell us one more time where we can find Love to Eat.
So Love to Eat is on the Love NOLA TV network. At Love NOLA TV on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube as well. And you can find Walk and Talk at The Walk and Talk Show or online on Apple Podcasts, any podcast place. And Love to Eat, the podcast, is going to be on all channels as well.
Great. And shout out to Love NOLA TV's YouTube page. What the Haggertys are doing is fantastic. And you and I are both benefiting from their creativity, and we appreciate it.
I'm proud to be your running mate, brother.
That's just cool.
It is so cool, man.
You're terrific. Love having you, and I'll see you with the crew.
Yes, sir. Thank you, baby.
All right, buddy.
Love you, New Orleans.
Hey, y'all. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel and turn on your notifications. Please follow us. We've got new shows each and every week. And a very, very special thanks to all of our sponsors who are making this possible. Have a great day, and we'll see you next week.